Trading for Russell Westbrook as a player seems like an insane idea if you just focus on the basketball aspect of it, does it not?
100%. I can't stand watching that human being play basketball. He infuriates me. I hate his over-the-top celebrations. I've talked to people that covered him in Oklahoma City who say he could never understand the last 5 minutes of a basketball game are different than the first 40 to 43 minutes of a basketball game. Like he never understood, even at his prime, how to control a game at the end of the game. And It infuriated Kevin Durant and some of his teammates that he just couldn't understand that the last 2 to 5 minutes is a very different game than the first 40 plus minutes. So that being said, I am not a Russell Westbrook fan of his game at all, but the Mavericks are a little bit up against it where they're at building a team, and it's not because of Nico. I love Nico. I am so happy that Nico is now our general manager, and I believe that Mark Cuban has given him a lot of power. Nico did not sign Tim Hardaway Jr. That was Cuban and Donnie Nelson more led on that situation. And so you sit here with a guy in Tim Hardaway Jr. who, when you traded for him, the Knicks said, look, we're going to trade you Porzingis, but you have to take on this horrible contract. He can play basketball, but man, did we screw up giving him close to $20 million a year. And because of that, and there's more years on it, you have to take him if you're going to get Porzingis. And the Mavericks said, all right, we'll take him at that contract. We understand you've tried to unload him to 29 other teams, including us, and we've said no. But to get Porzingis, we'll say yes. And then 2 years later, the Mavericks said, how about we re-sign that almost exact same deal for a 4-year contract? And then the Mavericks found out months into the contract, oh no, 29 teams don't really want that contract and want to give us back good assets. It's almost like, we will take it if we can give you this horrible contract.
Now, there is one person who said he had one bad year. He's better than Brunson and Hardaway and Bertans. But pretty much everybody else is like, no. And this is
totally understand. I'm with you on that part of it.
It probably boils down to this from the 817. You guys saying that Mavs fans want Westbrook caused me to vomit in my mouth. All right, so I think that distills what a lot of Mavericks fans feel. However, this is what we're doing. From the 972, they asked it as a question. This is our strategy. If we can't upgrade the roster by adding anyone of significance, why not try to clear out as much cap space as possible? Ha, ha, ha! And that is exactly what we're doing. To the surprise of, I don't know, literally nobody, Russell Westbrook did, in fact, opt in to his player option of $47 million, which is exactly what we needed him to do to make all of this work, because here's how it goes down. Put aside, if you can, for a second, and then we'll reevaluate and see if people still support this or do not support this. Russell Westbrook is on the books 1 year, $47 million, and then he's a free agent. Our proposed deal would include Davis Bertans and Tim Hardaway Jr.
Both on 3-year deals.
Exactly. 3 more years on their deals.
Right.
Yes.
This year plus 2 more, as in this year, 2022 through 2025. They're on your books. You will never have any cap space. In fact, for the most part, you will never have more than the taxpayers' mid-level exception going forward for the next 3 years. For the next 3 years, to add players in free agency, you are looking at paying $6.3 million as a maximum contract in the competition to get players that hit free agency. Now, I know you can do sign and trades here and there, but also when you're at $150 million or over,
luxury tax,
you can't do sign and trades for free agents. So you can't. Literally, when people are like, we should go get Mo Bamba, we can't. You can, but you can't. It gets really hard when you get over $150 million to do sign and trades. So that's why in a whole bunch of different scenarios, just to give you a few, That's why the Lakers, if they still want Kyrie Irving, like, thank God he opted into $36 million, because if it became a sign and trade, it was going to be close to impossible to pull off. If you look at the Golden State Warriors, they're not doing sign and trades for being over the luxury tax for the last 5+ years. You can do trades, but guys have to be under contract. So when you look at, somebody became a free agent, let's work out a sign and trade. When you're over $150 million, it becomes almost impossible to do. So looking at this deal, I'm not a Westbrook fan. Please don't look at this as Mike's a Westbrook fan. No. In fact, I do not want him on the team. There's part of me that says you do this trade and you immediately buy him out like you bought out John Wall in Houston. I won't go that far because I'm going to have trust that Jason Kidd maybe could get that human being to understand basketball besides just putting up good stats. But if I get rid of Hardaway and I get rid of Bertans and those two guys next year, I'm down to now about an $80 million team. If next year the money goes up, which people think it will, you could have possibly you could have about $30+ million in cap space.
Oh, it'd be more than that.
It could be more than that, right? I'm being conservative with that number because we don't know exactly what the number will be. It could be up to $40 million.
I actually, just real quick, I don't want to get you too riled up, Mike, but I think it'd be more than that. I think the salary cap for next year is at 122. Okay. So I think you could have 45 to maybe even more. So that's where I'm looking at this. If you think that next year, and more props to you, if you think next year that Luka Doncic, Dinwiddie, Tim Hardaway Jr., Christian Wood, Dorian Finney-Smith, Reggie Bullock, and Maxi Kleber, those are pretty much your players that you can count on next year. If you believe that that's going to get back to the conference finals and have a chance to win the NBA championship, God bless you. I don't, but I do think that's a team that makes the playoffs and has trouble getting out of the first round. But if you think that that team can win it all, then good. I'm glad. Then don't make this trade. But if you think, my gosh, what if you had Luka Doncic, Dorian Finney-Smith, Christian Wood plays great, and you sign him to a extension or to a new deal, and you have $25 million of room to play with those three guys to build around, doesn't that sound a lot better than, hey, here's what we're doing. We're going with our core that we have. We never will have any money to spend except $6.3 million. Then I don't get what you're doing. The other thing that you could do, I'll throw this out for another one, is it makes no sense to just have Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber be on this team and then just have their contracts run out, because it doesn't help you financially much at all. Right. You either have to go all in on, we're keeping Dwight Powell, we're keeping Maxi Kleber, we got to get rid of, let's say, Hardaway and Bertans, and there's only one way to do this. I wish there was other ways, Maverick fans. The Lakers on the other side of this, they are stuck, and they could go, Westbrook is a negative for us. Yeah. And we can't get rid of him. We want to, but we're struggling to. He doesn't fit. The money's ridiculous. Hardaway does fit there. Bertans does fit there. They spread the court out. Westbrook, they tried it. It doesn't work. I'm not saying it's going to work here. I'm almost giving up on the 2022-23 season, even though, hey, I'll be intrigued to see what Luka and Westbrook look like. If it's bad and Westbrook is ruining your chemistry and Westbrook is taking the ball away from you, say go home. Yes. You're not playing here anymore. And it still works for you salary-wise because you get them off the books. Yeah. You're not taking Westbrook to become a championship team. You're taking Westbrook to get rid of Hardaway and Bertans' horrible contracts.
But in the same way that, you know, you're trying to get that those extra years off your books off of Bertans and Hardaway, the Lakers are also in a place where they would have to suffer through one more year of Russell Westbrook's salary before clearing that up. So, like, taking on all that extra salary for the long term, would you have to tack on a draft pick or something else to sweeten the pot for them to make that deal plausible? We had discussions at one point if Josh Green has to go into the deal, because if it includes draft compensation, quite frankly, I would still be interested in doing it. But I am curious from the Lakers' perspective, because you're right about that. If the Lakers view every year, or LeBron views every year as, what are you doing to help me win a championship now? And I might be wrong, because I see some Mavericks fans are like, hey, I want to optimize every year of Luka, and I 100% get that. But sometimes I do wonder if you can look at like bigger picture stuff.
with Luka, whereas the Lakers are like, let's just focus on this year. And I wonder, because you might be right, I wonder if the Lakers are willing to make that kind of sacrifice, but you might be right. It could require other considerations.
Let me ask you this, Reggie. What do you think LeBron James is going to ask for in free agency next year? Do you think he's going to take a team-friendly deal with – I'm asking as a real question. Do you think he's going to take a team-friendly deal with the LA Lakers?
I have no idea. I would be inclined to say no, but I have no idea what his goals are at this point.
It will be, if he wants to, he can sign close to a 2-year, $100 million contract in the offseason. Let's just say he does that, and his first number is close to $50 million. That would put Anthony Davis and LeBron James at $90 million, and then Taylor Horton Tucker at $11 million. To your point, they'd have 3 players on their team at $100 million. So I look at it from your perspective of, hey, don't the Lakers want to maybe clear out Russell Westbrook and just have Anthony Davis on their team at $40 million and Taylor Horton Tucker at $11 million? That would be a $51 million team, and only 2 guys are on the team. I don't know if they want to do that, because as soon as LeBron James says, I want to be back here, you're now at over 100 or at $100 million team with 3 guys. And you have $20 million approximately to fill out 12 roster spots.
Now, I don't want to go down this path too much, because then somebody was like, well, who are you going to sign with that free agent money? Because in my mind, it starts to run away with me, and I'm like, hey, Nikola Jokic will be available. But then I get the pushback is, well, big-time free agents don't come here. So we probably won't have that conversation right now. So you've convinced some people. There are other people who are like, I still can't do it. I understand your logic, but I still can't do it.
I understand. It's not easy for me. Watching Russell Westbrook play basketball, it makes me want to throw up sometimes.
And there are some people, wow, holy cow.
That's how disgusted I get watching his dumbass celebrations.
Holy cow.
After making a layup where he got touched and now they're down by 12 points.
And there are some people who push back and think that he's not as bad as you think. If you look at just the basic numbers, I get that. He was, or has kind of developed into he's been less aggressive, and his shooting has never been like particularly amazing to begin with, especially obviously 3-point shooting. So I don't know.
That being said, I don't think this is going to happen. I think this is a possibility for the Mavericks. I do think they look at it and go, hey, if Jalen's leaving to go to the Knicks, which, look, he pretty much is, and they pretty much are
this morning
90-10.
Okay.
That he's going to the Knicks. The 10% is that the Mavericks won't play ball with the Knicks, even though the Knicks right now supposedly are talking to the Clippers about throwing Nerlens Noel over there and adding picks to it.
So they can get
then they don't have to do a sign and trade with Dallas. They can give him the 4-year, $100+ million contract, and they don't need the Mavs at all. But I would say, I wonder if Jason Kidd, I can't imagine at 33 years old, Russell Westbrook is going to change his attitude about basketball and his IQ about basketball. But I just wonder, he was with LeBron James, one of the smartest basketball players in the history of basketball, and it didn't help his IQ at all. Frank Vogel had to bench him the last 5 minutes to give their team a chance to win a basketball game. So I don't think that Jason Kidd is going to figure out how to get Russell Westbrook, how to understand basketball, especially at the end of a basketball game. Nobody's been able to coach that into him. But I do wonder, Westbrook and Luka, I'd give it an 80% chance of not working.
Yeah.
But there is a 20% chance it'd go, I wonder what it would be like with those 2 guys.